In the upper left, he's the sexy boy. He's back from the military and that's 2-0'd Rainer to get here. It's Rogue. Bottom right in the red. At times looking like the best Protoss player in Korea. At times looking certainly in the top 3. It's Stats. Man, I look at what's happening in this setup. I look at how the games are, or I look at what's happening in Korea right now with Rogue back and Classic back and Stats back and everything else. And I'm like, I feel like, what's his name? Wow. You know, the not Robin. Yeah, look like I feel like Robin Williams. I forget what the movie is, but you know, what year is it? My beard all awry, my hair all awry. Like, what the hell is happening? What year is it? Because this, again, these players played in GSL finals in 2020. They have series going back to like 2013. They played a ton against each other. You look at even in Legacy of the Void. You look at these two, 23 and 18 in series. And yeah, you know, form's below 50% for both of them in the matchup. But Rogue's recently back from the military. It doesn't really count. Stats has been very good. Stats this season did get knocked out of the GSL before the finals, but last season he took down Dark. He bounced Dark out of the GSL. He looked very, very good. He hit top 4 in the GSL. It was fantastic. So Stats again at times has been looking like maybe not the best, maybe not the best Protoss player in Korea, but at least within punching distance. He can put a claim to it on a good day. As of course we're going to see a Stargate opener game 1. That shouldn't surprise anyone. This is a map that well, it's Golden Aura. It is very defensive. It is very, very good for it is extremely good for Protoss players that just want to sit there and take their 3 bases, get a 4th base, mac her up, and go from there. Which, hey, Stats is known as the Shield of Fire for a reason. He is very good at this solid defensive playstyle. And it's going to be interesting to see how Rogue decides to try to break him, if he does, because, well, Rogue is traditionally one of those players, him and Cyril, the 2 players that dominate the late game, that were maybe the reason why, you know, at times, Zerg maybe has been a little bit too strong in the late game if you're really good. And that has been Rogue. That has been Cyril. They've been these 2 players that are nigh untouchable in the late game. But Rogue did lose to Classic in a super long late game in a Wardy TV tournament last week, I think it was. And his late game acumen is probably just not there. Part of it also, it has been nerfed. We have seen many components of the late game Protoss play get nerfed over the last several patches. You know, Vipers not as strong as they were. High Templar a little bit stronger in picking those off. Broodlords very heavily nerfed. Lurkers not quite as strong. Altogether, it does tell this story where, yeah, you know, late game Zerg is not. Infestors, one can make an argument whether that is a nerf or a buff or a burf. It's probably a burf in terms of all the different infestor changes that have happened. But regardless, I do, by the way, I love when we started to see this a little bit more, where you see Adept Oracle move across the map and just really being used to knock down a couple creep tumors, deny the Zerg map control a little bit, which is great. Like, that is when creep tumors were made light, like 4 years ago at this point. It's been a while, but when that happened, this is kind of what it was meant to do. It's like, oh yeah, you know, Protoss players, Oracles do bonus damage to light, Adepts do bonus damage to light. You have this opportunity to go and actually deal with the Zerg crew spread, because one of the things that Protoss players complained about, and probably with good reason, one of the things that Protoss players complained about was this idea that, well, yeah, Terran, they have ways to curtail the Zerg creep spread in the early game and in the mid game. They have ways to make that happen. Protoss players don't. Not really, or they didn't, I guess, is the better way to say that. You didn't have, I mean, you could get oracles and observers, and you had the detection a little bit easier maybe, but adepts move, a couple of adepts on the map, it kills tumor, it takes a while to kill creep tumors, they're going to get surrounded, they're not as mobile as a Hellion is. You can't curtail creep spread easily, so making them light actually was a pretty cool idea. even if it does. And it doesn't really affect the Hellion setup because the amount of Hellions that you get as a Terran player, one shot, the creep tumors anyways. No big deal. But for now, Stats, he's going to get active on the map here. This pre-blink push that has become, that is such a hallmark of that hero style that we saw him develop almost 2 years ago at this point. So pressure on the map, and we talked about how defensively you can play with these chokes, with these ramps, but also you can use those to get pretty aggressive. You can go across the map and wedge yourself into that choke and cause some problems. And well, Rogue's creep spread is non-existent. He lost the one tumor and just hasn't been spreading it after that point. We have like 3 tumors on the map 6 minutes in. I guess a couple on the main base as well, because he wants to make sure there's not, he sees if there's a warp in, but we're almost 7 minutes in this game and there is literally no creep spread on the map. It's not, ideally by this point, by the time your 4th base is done, you want creep beyond the 4th base and you kind of want it in a different direction as well. And that's just not a thing, which makes life pretty complicated for Rogue. It's hard for him to go, and as Stats gets ready to get aggressive, and as Stats thinks about moving on the map a little bit more and having these talkers and putting pressure and making life a little bit more complicated for Rogue, it's really hard for Rogue to see what's happening. It's really hard for Rogue to figure out where exactly these attacks are coming from without that creep spread. It's harder for him to get his surrounds and do things like that. So Rogue, not as much map control as he would like, not by a large margin, but this is Golden Aura. This is a 4th base setup. Stats is playing defensively. We have Immortals getting added in, Storm getting added in. This style that becomes very hard for the Zerg player to deal with. Immortal, Charge, Storm. Add in some Colossus later on if you want to. But this Immortal Storm idea is, I don't want to say unbeatable because there's always an execution component, but a competently controlled Immortal Storm, get some Archons, get some Colossus, whatever, secondary level of splash. A competently controlled army like this is very hard for a Zerg player to deal with. So Rogue, again, we're seeing him, he's doing the Rogue thing. This is a layer, or a hive, excuse me, just about done. Hydra's getting added in, double upgrades. So again, he's just developing himself. 4th base done, 5th base on the way. And with the lurkers are going to be step 1. Is Stats also, I didn't know that we're playing No Rush 20, but apparently we are. 2 more Stargates on the way, Fleet Beacon on the way, more Immortals getting added in here. This Rogue is just Rogue and Stats both saying, oh, okay, let's run across the map. We're gonna shake our hands. We're gonna say, this is great, this is fantastic. Okay, you don't want to attack for 10 minutes. I don't want to attack for 10 minutes. Let's go to town. This is gonna be great. So we're gonna build big armies, and we are gonna hide them in our sleeveys, and we're gonna go and just do what we want to do. And part of it is the map, right? Golden Aura, unless you're going for a Roach Hydra timing, it's very hard to attack into for the Zerg player. A little bit easier for the Protoss. If with Blink you can kind of wedge yourself in there, but even then surrounds can be scary, so that's not really going to happen. And now Lurkers are getting made, Adrenals getting made, but also Carriers, and Lurkers against Carriers are not very good. Lurkers against Skytoss are not very good. So this army that Rogue is making, that he kind of is tried to leapfrog into the game, it feels like he's already been leapfrogged and kind of what he wants to do. So he's going to move across the map with some units on the right side. But it's all been revelated. It's all been revealed. There are stasis traps going down. Ling's going to pop 1, certainly. But I don't really know how much I like this attack. Well, actually, no, I do. Because you get an attack on the right side, a bunch of Lings on the left side, Banelings as well. These Immortals, they should go down. And remember, these are +2 Lings. They don't one-shot probes, but they still 2-shot them just the same. Workers are going to go down. More damage being done here. Lurkers on the right side getting actually really heavy damage. Now, if not for the stasis, somehow they burrowed before the stasis trap went off, which is kind of crazy, actually. But this is a lot of damage here that Rogue is starting to get done. Storms go down, but they don't really hit a lot. It's only on the Lings, and now these Lurkers, all of a sudden, they're sitting right on top of the army. The stasis trap is going to go down. Now, there's detection, so they're going to get shut down pretty quickly. And at the end of the day, Lings are still in the 3rd base. Looks like they're finally going to get dealt with. Lings in the main base, or no, Overlord, Overseer get in the main base that look like Gupta Stargate for a little bit. At the end of the day, the damage done was thus: 15 probes, an Immortal going down, 15 Zealots, a Robo, for 6 lurkers, 13 roaches or so, a couple hydras, 100 oddlings. Not bad for Rogue. Probably not cost efficient. Certainly not, but it did slow down the economy just a little bit, and Rogue has 91 workers. Rogue's economy is going like gangbusters here, as he is now developing the next round of tech. Corruptor's on the way, +1 ultra cafford. So he had the one hit. The lurkers did just about as much as they were ever gonna be able to do, but now Storm, Archons, 3 carriers, +1 on the carriers, +2 on the ground. Rogue's building this army, but it's not here yet. He's got Bailings on the way. This is a very scary army. He's gonna lose a base for it. I think that's obvious. But the question is whether stats can go further, whether stats can go end the game like this, because, well, again, the economy's not terrible. We see that Rogue had 91 workers. Now he's on 83, and I don't think he lost that many drones on that base. I guess he lost, yeah, no, okay, never mind. He just lost 8. Okay, that's the difference. I didn't feel like he lost a lot there, but 91 minus 8 is 83. So there we go. Anyways, this attack continues. What's stats going to be able to get done here? The zealots on the high ground, they're not going to accomplish a lot. But again, this army from stats is terrifying. So not the +2 timing on the carriers, not just yet, but +3 is going to be done right now. Down the ramp here, Storms as well, getting on top of a lot of these Banelings, softening them up as they try to join the fray. And Archons are shredding these Corruptors. They're all dead. The army's still here. Storms on top of everything. Rogue is kind of dead, guys. Yeah, there we go. That's it. Stats. Takes damage. Punches even harder. And we go to game 2. Stats is up 1. Pay attention. If you listen to Artosis, he's going to say that it is ideologically disingenuous to try to make any argument other than Rogue being the greatest of all time, which, no. I mean, obviously it's a little bit of clickbait because, sure, fine. But this argument that Rogue has a lot of accolades. Absolutely. 2 world, or he's got a Katowice. It wasn't a world championship that year, but I guess it was the IEM world championship. It wasn't the Starcraft world championship. He's got a BlizzCon. He's got 4 GSLs. All of these things are absolutely true. He's one of the greatest players we've ever seen. But when I look at, and maybe I turn this into a video at some point, but when I look at who, kind of my ranking of who's the greatest, like who's great, I don't look at just to say, wow, he's got really good results. I look at stability as well. And Rogue has always been one of these players where every season after he wins a GSL, he loses out in the first round the next round, or the next season. He wins season 1, season 2, he's out in the first round. He is a very unstable player. He's not, even if he's kind of always, this is obviously pre-military. He's not there yet. It's going to take him a while to play himself back into shape. Generally, these players coming back in the military, it's taking about a year to get back into shape. But even before then, he was never the favorite to win a tournament he goes into. He's always one of the favorites. It's like, yeah, Rogue could win, but so could Maru, so could Cyril, so could Hero, whatever. Whereas Cyril, if he qualifies for the playoffs in a tournament, if he makes the playoffs, which is again, extremely likely, but if he makes playoffs for a tournament, there's a 67% chance he win. Someone did the math. I think it's 67%, something like that. There is a 67% chance he wins the entire thing if he hits, I think it's top 8. So theoretically, in an even sport where no one's any better than anyone else, you would expect top 8. Everyone would have a 12.5, 13% chance to win. Maybe some variance, balance, whatever. But the fact that Cyril has 2/3, 67% chance to win any given tournament he makes the playoffs for. And this has been true for the last 6 years. And yeah, Artosis makes this argument. Okay, Bourgeois. Sure, fine. We don't really use the term in StarCraft, but we should be calling him a Bourgeois versus the greatest of all time. He has the accolades to back it up of the results. He's got 2 true world championships. And yeah, he's got all the circuit events, which, you may argue, don't matter as much. Well, the fact that he won every circuit in 2018 and then went and dominated in BlizzCon, okay, those were a little bit more justified. And he's got all this other stuff. Anyway, on top of that, StarCraft's been around for 14 years. If you have one player that has been the best player in the world for 6 of those years, and it's not even all that much of a question. Like, the most we can say is, wow, Cyril lost a series in the group stage. Wow, he's looking totally weak. We go past the point of, oh, he's the most dominant player of his era, to he is the most dominant player we've ever seen. And it's not even close. So, yeah. Maybe we turn this into a video. I don't know, but that's my rant. Well, I can pull up graphics and stats and make arguments later. But anyways, Rogue, he's got a lair on the way. Stats, opening up oracles, of course. Twilight, Blink here. +1's going to be on the way. And we're going to see exactly what happens with this. For now, though, adepts across the map, oracles as well. This is something, again, we've been seeing more Protoss players do, and I really like it. It gives it a little bit. It gives you a little bit more aggressive power. It's really hard. It's kind of hard for the Zerg to defend everywhere, and they can certainly, but it's as much of a skill check as anything else. Bare minimum, you knock some creep spread down again, and remember, Rogue's creep spread was not very good in the previous game. It's already better in this game. He's already got more tumors down on the map as adepts shade into the natural, where they're not going to get a lot done. Did any drones go down before the pull? Yeah, 2. But you want to get more than that one. 4 adepts here worth more than 2 drones. Rogue pulls away a little bit too soon, so 3 workers go down, and away we go. Blink +1 on the way. A very quick Hydra Den out of Rogue, actually. Single Evo, Hydra Den, these adepts are going to shade in. They're not going to get anything done. So, balance of things, 6 adepts for 3 drones, 19 lings. You are very happy as the Zerg player in this setup. The oracles have just not killed anything. And that does speed a Rogue up, or I guess it slows stats down. One of the two. That means that, well, Hydra Den's done, and Rogue seems like he wants to go for the Lurker tech again. Seems like he wants to go for that timing, which, again, I don't really like. Sure, it can work. 20 Lurkers showing up outside of the Protoss 4th base if they haven't leapfrogged their tech properly. Sure, that's scary. But I don't know. I mean, in general, I think ZVP is kind of hard for Protoss players or for Zerg players at the moment. Not impossible, certainly not, but probably Protoss favorite. I think Protoss players in general have really figured it out. Immortal Storm, we put a couple Colossus on top, is very hard for a Zerg player to deal with. Lurkers kind of suck for the most part. It's not impossible, but it is hard. And now Blink's just about done. Char or +1's just about done. And Hydra Ling against a bunch of Blink Stalkers is not particularly, or I guess the Stalkers are not particularly good. So that does mean now that Rogue off this Hydra Ling setup can play defensively. He can get his hive up, can go for all that. And stats, well, we're not seeing the immediate hive tech. We're not seeing the immediate tier 3 tech. We're not seeing Devil Stargate get dropped in a fleet beacon and all of that. He's staying on the ground a little bit more. So charge, storm on the way. Still only, actually no robo just yet. Oh no, sorry, single robo. So still only single robo, not adding in all those immortals. Probably going to do that with the 4th base, probably. And Rogue is just content to take this game later, I guess. We should probably see him hit a timing again. Probably see him get a timing again. But for now, Hive is done. 8 minutes in. Adrenal glands, lurker range, everything that you could possibly want is Rogue. I mean, man, he's going super greedy on his tech here, and we're also going to see again tons of workers. He's on 82 right now. Last time he went briefly up to 91 before stats went across the map and killed a base and knocked those workers down. But this army from stats is strong enough to punch through a bunch of lurkers now, or it will be, I guess, the better way to say that. The army that he's building up to, immortals, storm, all that, you need like 20 lurkers to deal with this. Otherwise you get punched through. So +2 just about done. What are we looking at right now? 1 immortal, 1 archon, but more are going to get on the way pretty soon. We're going to see, well, Hydras are going to get, okay, no, that's 1 Hydra. It's not going to go down. And now the revelation here as well. So the lurkers, they've been revealed. Stats knows exactly where they are. He knows what he's dealing with. He knows that there are 4 or 5 lurkers right there, a couple more morphing in. And he says, that's fine. I'm just going to attack elsewhere. And if we look at this lurker count, it's 5 lurkers. It's a couple more on the way, 5 more on the way. 10 starting to get there. But if you want to make this army that is just something the Protoss player cannot handle, you got to go up 15 plus for the most part once the immortal count starts to go up. So for now, it's a bit of a concave here. Stalkers build the concave and Revelation goes down. Well, that's a dead lurker immediately. Concave redeveloped. Lings on the north side, though, they're going to try to run by here. Zealots on the right side as well. This game's going really crazy. Storms go down. Lurkers get punched through. But lurkers on the left side are doing a little bit more damage. High Templar are going to go down. Rogue created the chaos that he needed to. And into the main base, the Lings are going to show up here. And this army, it has to stay together if it wants to work out. Storms have to be really good. Immortals are dead. Everything's dead. Stats fell apart. Holy crap. Rogue, or maybe Rogue tore him asunder. I don't know, but Stats is dead. Rogue ties the series up. We go to game 3. It's all up 1. Game 1. He saw Stats go. He identified the quick turn to hive that happened. He said, oh, that's fine. Double Stargate. I'm building a bunch of carriers. It's going to be great. Or I guess triple Stargate, but adding 2 more. I'm going to build carriers. It's going to be great. And then we're going to go in game 3. Or in game 2, he doesn't quite do that. Realistically, that army he was building up to can stomp a bunch of lurkers. Lurkers are tanky, but they're not that tanky. Unfortunately, 30 Lings show up with Adrenal, show up in his natural, in his main base. They punch right through even with the Zealot being there, they punch right through it, and that's a problem. And then there's an attack, and then he gets Stats distracted, so lurkers jump on top of his army in the middle. They kill off all the High Templar. Storms are gone. And the Zealots on the right side, they don't get enough done. And it's like, well, all of a sudden, you just lost 3 fights at once, their Stats, and you are dead. Ooh. Very, very dead. Oh, unfortunately, seems like the Ducklings internet has gone down. So welcome everyone coming in from the Ducklings. Sorry that your internet is dead light. But of course, all should go give him a follow as well, because the Ducklings do awesome work for Starcraft. As now on site Delta for map number 3. So map 1, Golden Aura, is a map that is very choked out. You get your 4 bases almost for free. Not quite, but close enough. It's almost for free. And then, Golden Aura was a little bit more wide open, but it's kind of hard for Protoss players to push for the most part. That high ground area outside of the 3rd base is just really hard to break. And so, game 3 though, the most wide open of the maps, Site Delta on this map number 3 is one that I don't know if, well, I think we're going to see Rogue try. And I think if a Zerg is just absolutely determined to get in the hive very quickly, I don't think you stop them, but I think you can hit a timing before they're able to benefit from the hive is going to be maybe possible. I don't know. For now though, Oracle's on the way. 3rd base should get started in the next 30 seconds or so from Stats. He tries to defend against that one. Lings are scouting out for now, but as depths show up, Oracle shows up. 3rd base, there we go. 345 or so. Close enough, right? So for now, first Oracle's out, 2nd one on the way. This is a standard PvP or PvZ. We get into the mid game as quickly as possible. And actually, this Ling run by, I like it from Rogue. Should kill the Adepts. Should be. Yeah, these Adepts are dead, but the Lings, they're not going to be able to kill anything more than that. So Adepts go down and put a little pressure on the 3rd base, force the Oracles to stay at home. Actually force the Oracle to pull back, which is really nice. So now there's a lot, kind of the first hit of damage is not really going to be there, forcing the Oracles again to stay home, forcing more Adepts to warp in. And as the Zerg player, you're very happy about that. Anything you can do to pull the Oracles back home to deny their damage is always going to be beautiful. It's going to be fantastic. So Lings, again, they continue to be annoying, but they're not really getting a lot done. And now the spores are done in the main base, probably in the natural, or the main base in the 3rd. Natural's on the way. Queen's positioned well enough. And these Oracles, they're staying home. They want to make sure that this Overlord goes down, and it will. Okay, I guess they got 2 drones. Man, without the pop-up, you never realize just quite how reliant on the pop-up you are until you realize, wait a minute here. I'm like, oh, sorry. Tracking what happens is always a little bit hard, but this is the Stats build. This is a classic Stats build here. Something that he did quite a bit before going off to the military, where you open up Oracles, you don't get a 3rd one. And then you go, yeah, sure, it's the third base on the way, well timed. But you go 4K glaives off of it. And there's no robo, certainly, but you get like 12 adepts with glaives. You dive on top of things, and it can absolutely catch your opponent off guard because it hits like a minute faster before, say, a blink. Your standard kind of blink timing. But for now, you want to keep these adepts alive. One will go down, 2 more shade into the natural, where one of them dies pretty quickly, and the Ling should deal with the rest of this. So 4 total drones, but that's not, oh, excuse me, 4 total drones, but an Oracle goes down to the Queens on the middle of the map. So that is not good. But I was gonna say that's a pretty significant problem. But Roachhorn's only halfway down to dip shading on the middle of the map, and I'm not convinced that Rogue saw this. This is a lot of, yeah, no, he didn't see this at all. 17 Lings on the map versus this number of adepts is a even with Queens, this is a significant problem. So Rogue, panic, walls off the natural. That's absolutely the thing. Targets one Queen down immediately. Second one goes down. Oh, we're not gonna get targeted down. Actually, Link surrounds really good Queen damage on the top of things. We're gonna cancel here as well. Adepts into the third base. Drones are gonna get pulled away. Only 2 workers go down thus far, but the Link count's very small. It's only at 14. And adepts, again, they continue to shade forward here. Lings are going to get surrounded once again. A lot of these adepts are low, and the Queen's shelling away. And this just is not working for stats. You got more adepts that are going to try to show up. Roches now getting added in. Third base, but again, the drones are going to get pulled away, so it's mining time lost, sure, and the Spore should fall. Again, remember, this is pretty heavily committed out of stats. This is not, yeah, it's a 3-base timing versus a 2-base timing, so he's going to now try it. Knock the Evo Chamber down. It's a kill, not a cancel, but now Link's surround. Roach is knocking everything, and now 2 adepts, 1, yeah, this is all dead. This did not work out for stats. All things considered, 7 drones for 21 adepts. Not worth it at all here. Oracle going down as well. Yeah, you got a Roach, you got some Lings, you got a Queen, but no, this is a disaster for stats. It's just unmitigated disaster for stats. So Blink on the way, +1 getting started. Immortals getting added on top of this. Temple Archive, sure, fine. Rogue, if he wants to, he can just max out, run across the map, and look to smash. Now, looks like that's not going to be the answer. Looks like Rogue instead is going to say, yeah, let me macro up here. I'm going to go and I'm going to get my hive going once again. I'm going to get that lurker timing, and I don't think he had to. But whether he had to or not, that is going to be the name of the game. So for now, we're going to see a couple workers go down. Shield battery, defends this for the most part. And maybe he tries to hit a timing with everything. So Infestation Pit's done. Baneley Speed's on the way. +2 attack getting added in. He's got Carapace as well, so these Lings are going to be a little bit tankier. These Roaches are going to be a little bit tankier. And we don't have a hive on the way. Now, he doesn't have the gas forge just yet, so that's probably what he's going to be waiting on. There we go. Okay, there's the hive. So does Rogue try to hit a Roachling Bane-esque timing before the hive is done? I don't know. Certainly he's getting himself set up for some type of immortal, or not immortal, some type of ultra timing off of this with the double upgrades. It means immortals are going to be that much tankier. But again, armor matters less in this matchup because of how overkill generally works. Armor matters more the faster you attack. So that's why armor in TBT matters a lot. Getting marine armor and marine attack as well, because attack upgrades also scale with attack speed. It's why Carapace matters a lot in TVZ, because marines attack a lot. So taking 1 damage off the top for every small damage attack matters a lot more than taking 1 damage off the top of a heavy bursty attack. And immortals, stalkers, they don't fire very fast, but they do fire very hard. So again, the armor matters a little bit less in this matchup. But even still, Rogue, he's got 180 supply. He's got Baneley Speed done, 2 1s done. He's got a bunch of Baneleys here. His army on the right side has been revelated, and that is a thing. And Storm is done. I think Rogue, it's hard to say he waited too long, but now force fields are solid. Storm is done, but it's not getting dropped yet. Really waiting to see where the Banelings come in from, and that's where the Storms are going to get dropped. For now, very happy with the Immortal Firebase, with these, well, with everything else he's got going on. So this attack from Rogue has just not worked out at all. And behind this, there's the Ultra Cavern going down. There's Adrenal getting started. +3 attack. The next round of upgrades is, by the way, this is triple Evo out of Rogue. You greedy, greedy boy. Granted, again, he's probably fine with this. He rebuffed the attack from stats 4 minutes ago, 5 minutes ago, taking extremely minimal losses, and that gives him room to go and try to play this late game. That being said, though, a bunch of immortals into, or a bunch of ultras into 8 immortals, 10 immortals, archons as well. I don't like it. Feels real bad. Real good. So, anyways, Ultra Cavern's done. We should see Carapace on the way pretty soon. Chitinous Plating to get himself up to that beefy 4 to 5 armor if he gets +3 Carapace soon enough, but not right now. Again, gas is lacking just a little bit. Tries to attack forward. Big Ling run by getting ready to set up in the natural. This is how Stats lost game number 2. The run by distracted him and he lost the fight in the middle of the map. So now Banelings are going to try to run into the mineral line here. They're going to get half the mineral line, actually, give or take. That was about 11 workers or so. Just 15 have died in total, but I think some might have died a little bit earlier on. Of course, we unfortunately do not have game heart, so I can't properly check. But anyways, around the order of 11, 15 workers goes down. It's heavy, but the Ling run by doesn't get anything done. And now, I mean, look at this army out of stats. Immortals are getting added in. Chitinous Plating is getting added in here. But, I mean, there are so many storms. There are so many immortals and archons and everything else. And Lings are going to try to go for the run by, but notice how this is being, Stats is positioning this. Two archons at the front to soak Banelings. A couple archons at the back to soak the Ling run by. Any way you attack into this, it becomes really hard. It becomes tremendously hard to attack into. So Stats maxed out, so is Rogue. Absolutely adding in more immortals, sure, fine, but immortals against or adding in more ultras, I guess, but ultras against immortal archon, they get shredded really hard. Now archon's on the left side, oh, that's a problem. We talked about that. That is a ton of gas. 600 gas all of a sudden just not available. Adrenalings are feisty. +3 adrenalings are very feisty indeed. So Stats, again, not going to be super happy about that one. But a couple zealots, archons looking around. Big stasis trap on the left side. Storm's going to get dropped here, and these ultras are getting chunked down. Now you got to target them down a little bit more. There we go. Second one's dead. Ling's trying to get on top of this army, but the stasis trap does a ton here. Now ultras on top of the stalkers. They will chunk the stalkers down. You have to cut away from them, but Stats just ends fights. And yeah, Rogue, he's gonna try to get on top of this, but Zealots are here more and more. Immortals, actually, you know what? Zealots are not gonna defend the Immortals well enough. So Isles kills off one more. Immortals are mostly dead. Only one of them on the field. 4 more Ultras on the way. There is that. That's a big deal. Only one anti-Ultra thing against 4 more Ultras getting added in here is Stats. Look at the micro there on the Immortal, but it will go down. And now Zealots, yeah, the Ultra's not going to die particularly fast, but it will. The Zealots get on top of that one, and honestly, the Oracle damage is pretty significant here because spell damage don't care about your armor. Stats may have to back up a little bit, as the quality of this army isn't really there, but he has done a heavy number, traded tremendously well, and now Archons will fall down. The rest of this army is dead. Actually, resource loss is pretty similar, 20 to 22. And maybe I don't, maybe I'm letting my, wow, Immortal's a really good bias cloud my judgment here. Maybe. The stats is Rogue is actually not in that bad of a spot. Well, he's on 67 workers. Okay, that's kind of, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is why this feels a little bit weird. He's only on 67 workers. This army, his ability to reproduce this army that he's making is not insane, but he will get a kill on the prospective 5th base stats. That's not a cancel. Stats not a point where he can really afford that. The main base is mined out. Natural, only 4 mineral patches remaining. All the TN, big run by as well. Only 10 mineral patches on the 3rd, or 5 mineral patches on the 3rd base as well. So Stats' economy is not incredible. That's why we can see Rogue, even though he's only on 67 workers, is actually significantly outmining his opponent. Now, the Zealots are going to try to kill this base. They're not going to. In the midst of this, Stats, he has +1 air done, but no fleet beacon. No additional Stargates. Honestly, can't afford it right now. So it's actually not that bad of a spot for Rogue. Keeps his extra base alive. What is that? The 6th base alive on the northeast side. He's got this ultra ling time. He's got his Spire done if he needs it to respond to, say, a carrier switch or something that realistically Stats can't afford right now. And Stats actually, I think he's just overstepped. I let my Immortals are really good bias go on my judgment a little bit. This army is still terrifying from Stats, absolutely, but there are the gas value of this army is insane. There are so many Ravagers in this army. I'll still have to hit really well, and Archons and Immortals chunk this thing down super hard with the no lings as well to get us around. Storms are gonna get dropped for the time being, and now all the Immortals are dead. Stats continues to chase forward on top of this. Those Biles are insane though. And yeah, I can't chase anymore. Immortals, I think a couple Immortals went down. Regardless, not all that happy. Storms on top of this army though are very happy, and Stats is gonna force Rogue back. Rogue gonna struggle now to put pressure on this base. This is a very low army. This Ultron, like, it's gonna die to the Storm actually, which is not something you see all that often. There are 8 Archons on the map. Your Storms again, or Biles again, are gonna land, but not incredibly so. And as the Zealots move forward to buffer, Rogues, yeah, he's up 40 army supply. He's down in army value though, and this army, it's not, I mean, the Biles continue to land. They continue to get damage done here. That's not something that should be allowed to happen. Stats, you can't let the Biles hit your army like this, because this is absolutely an army that can still lose if you keep eating those Biles. Stats, my goodness. Yes, more Zealots are gonna warp in. Yes, but the Ultras, the tech, keep getting hit by these Biles. The Archons keep getting hit by these Biles, and Rogue can reinforce better. It's 162 supply to 99. And the Archons, they continue to get whittled away at. Immortals continue to get whittled away at. The army continues to get whittled away at. And there is, yeah, Zealots gonna warp in 11 of them at a time. But Rogue just face tanks everything. There's a run by on the other side, but these +3 Adrenalings do more than enough. And Rogue into the round of 4, taking down Stats 2-1. Impressive showing from the man, especially after how game 1 went. He moves on